All right, Fred, we can go on now.
All right. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Good evening. Good evening, guys. Or good afternoon. I trust you're doing good. So, if you do not know me, let me introduce myself so you all can know who I am. I am Alfred Ailara Paul by name, and I'm a web developer and a product manager. But I'm going to be your instructor on web development. Okay, and I'm going to be pouring out everything that I feel I need to pour out to you guys as regards web development. So in today's class, today's class is actually going to be brief because we need to like prepare your minds ahead of what you're about to what you're about to encounter in the journey as a web developer. So today we're going to be treating a very important topic, a very very important topic for us to treat, because before you get started as a web developer, you must understand what web development is, what makes up the term web development. Before getting started as a web developer, you need to understand this thing. So today we're going to be talking about the introduction. I'm going to be introducing you to web development, and one of the learning outcome of this class is that at the end of this lesson, okay, you should be able to understand the difference between the front end and the back end development, and you should be able to familiarize yourself with essential tools that are used in web development. Then you should also be able to plan and start building your own websites. Yeah, then write basic HTML, CSS, JavaScript, great. So basically, for this particular lesson, the first two, that is the number one and two, is what we are expecting to have as our learning outcome for today. Okay. So what is web development? I know that many of you have actually been hearing about the word web development, and you've been wondering what exactly is web development. How can I get started as a web developer, even if I'm to be a web developer? What do I need to do to, what do I need to learn to become a web developer? The web developer? Do I need to, um, you know, earn a degree for it? Or do I just need to learn a skill about as regards web development and the likes? I know that a lot of you have that kind of questions in your mind. So today I'm going to be answering those questions. Okay. So what I'm just going to be doing today is just introducing you to what web development is before I start introducing you to the programming languages that you need to learn. So, what is web development? Web development is simply the process of creating websites and web applications. So, the word web development is gotten from two words, websites and development. And we know what a website is. Then we know what the word development is. When you have to develop something, and a website is like a page where you can get to visit on your phone, like your phone browser or your laptop browser or your tab browser, to gather information about a particular thing or a particular brand or whatever information you need. Okay. So web development is simply the process of creating websites and web applications. Yeah, there's a difference between website, just a slim difference between websites and web applications. Okay. So which this includes everything from like a simple static page to complex based applications. Okay. So now web development is typically divided into two main areas. Sorry, I'm coming. So web development is typically divided into two main areas. So those two main areas, I'm going to be showing us what they are today. Okay. So the first one is front end development. The first one is what? The front end development. The front end development, which is also known as the client side development, also it focuses on what the user see, that is what you can see and interact with in the web browsers. Right now, as you're looking at your screen, you are seeing something, right? That is the client side. Okay. But why is it possible for you to see what you are seeing? Why can I be wherever I am and you are seeing me where I am? You are seeing my slides. Then that what are the logic behind this occurrence, this event? That is the server side. But we're not talking about the server side now. We're talking about the client side now, which is called the front end development. So the front end development is also known as the client side development. Okay, let me use the human anatomy as an example to illustrate this. You know, in the human body, we have the skeleton. We have the skeletal structure. We have the flesh, where we have the flesh, the blood vessels, and every other thing like that. Then we have the outer layer, which is your skin, what you can see, feel, touch, interact with, your hair, all these things. So this part that you can see and touch and feel in the human body is what we know as the client side. Okay. Okay, let me use a restaurant for example now. You go to a restaurant, you want to buy a food, and you tell them, okay, I want to order for jollof rice and chicken. You are seeing the jollof rice, you are seeing the chicken, you are interacting with the person that is in charge of processing your order right there. This is the client side. But why is it possible for you to be able to buy that rice and chicken? Because there are some people at the back known as the chef who does the work of who do the work of cooking and the likes like that. That is the server side. Okay. So since we're talking about the client side, there are certain languages that you need to learn for you to be a front end developer. Okay. There are certain languages you need to learn to be for you to be a front end developer. So the first one is HTML. You need to learn HTML. HTML is the full meaning of the word HTML is hypertext markup language. For many of you that are studying computer science, I'm very sure that you must have been familiar with the word HTML. They might have not taught you how to write codes in HTML, but I'm damn sure that they must have at least tell you what HTML is, and you must have been familiar with it. So we have the HTML, which is the first and most important language for you to learn. That is the first and most important language for you to learn as a front-end developer, which that is the HTML, hypertext markup language. Now, the hypertext markup language is not yet a programming language. You are not yet a programmer yet when you're just in the level, in the stage of learning HTML. It's just a markup language. Okay. So now the HTML is the backbone of web content. HTML structures the content on your web page. You can look at, let me try to visit a website here so that I can get to show you what I'm talking about. No, let me not show you my Upwork profile. I'm coming. Look here. Look at this. You see all these things you're seeing here, this button, this text, everything you're seeing here, this search icon is the work of the HTML. Okay, they are being structured with HTML. Do you get it now? It's just like in the human body, we have the skeletal structure. How is the skeletal structure created? How is it assembled? HTML. Do you get it now? So HTML is used to structure the content on your web page using elements, because in HTML we have HTML elements, we have HTML attributes. So using HTML like headings, paragraph, links, image, and many other things like that. Do you get it now? Then the next language that you need to learn is CSS. Okay, the CSS is also known as the cascading style sheets, and the CSS is used for styling the HTML elements, which controls layouts, colors, fonts, and overall visual experience. Now, from the website I showed you, without the CSS, you can see that this button have a color. It has this green color here. This one has this yellow light color here. So all these things here are the work of the CSS. All this, you see that this one is now at the side. Is now side. This navigation bar is at the side. This one is at the top. This one is at the left hand side, this one's at the right hand side. These are the work of the CSS. It helps with positioning, it helps with beautifying your website. Then once you're done with CSS, you need to learn what we know as what the JavaScript. Now you are now moving into a programming language. So the JavaScript is a programming language which allows you to make your website interactive. Without JavaScript, your website is static. It cannot perform any function. So for you to be able to perform certain functions that you wanted to perform, then you have to use JavaScript, which is for you to what? Make your website interactive. That is, you need your website to respond to user actions, to validate forms, and communicate with servers. That is a mediator between the front end and the back end. That is where JavaScript comes in. So that's just for the front end. Then we have the back end development, which is the second area of web development. Okay, and this is what we know as the server side of web development, and it handles data storage. When we talk about data storage, every website, app, and games that we have, every digital platforms we have, actually needs data. They need data. What are data? For example, if you want to open a Facebook account, you need to put in your first name, your second name, your username, your phone number, your email. All these things are data. So backend actually it handles the storage of this data, the server management and application logic. That is the logic behind the functions of each event that happens on a website or application. For example, when you click on a button to make payments, when you're trying to, let's say you're on Jumia, you want to make payments, you want to order for a product, and then you click on you try to click on checkout. And once you click on checkout, it takes you to another page where you completely check out your price and everything, and then you receive an email to confirm your order. Or the way these things are being done is what we call logic. Okay, so how is this logic being programmed? That is where the backend development comes in. Do you get it now? So there are server-side languages that you need to learn to be a backend developer. We have languages like Python. Come in. All right, so we have languages like Python, Ruby, PHP, Node.js, C programming, which these are languages that are used to create dynamic features of the website. So you can get to choose anyone you want to choose. You can get, but the most, let me start from the most popular one. We have Node, we have Python, we have C programming, we have PHP. Okay, so these are server-side languages. Node.js is a JavaScript library for JavaScript programming languages to work and run. It's a runtime environment for JavaScript. Then we have databases. You need to also, to be a big backend developer, you also need to learn the database, also a database language. And what does database do? Database actually stores all the data that the website needs, every data that the website needs. Where is it stored? On the database. So, such as user accounts, product information, just like I've explained earlier. So, common databases include, that means the languages for database management. We have MySQL, we have PostgreSQL, and we have MongoDB. All right. So, that is that for the two main areas, the two areas of web development. So, now we have the development tools and workflow. So adopting a proficient development workflow is essential for a full stack developers, typically involving, now we have version control system. We have Git, which is standard for code collaboration. If you're working in an organization, especially remotely, there's a way developers actually collaborate when it comes to code, sending each other codes, commenting on each other's codes, checking each other's code base. All these things are done via version control system like Git. Okay, so we have okay. Still the same thing in this second one. We have GitHub. We have GitHub and the likes like that. So another tool or workflow you need to also understand as a developer is APIs. You need to understand what APIs are. API actually stand for the word application programming interfaces, which allows different software components to communicate. That is different software components, one software, another software. The link, for example, they are trying to buy a product on a website, you notice that as you are clicking on pay now, is linking you to a page by Flutterwave. Meanwhile, the company is not Flutterwave. They are simply making use of a payment gateway called Flutterwave. How is this possible? API. All right. So API allows different components to communicate. They can be used to fetch data from a server or send data to another application. Do you get it now? So we have um, we have essential tools for web development. So to build websites, developers use various tools to make their work easier and more efficient. The number one we have is code editors. So code editors are essential for writing codes. How do you write your codes? That is where we have the code editor. That's where the code editor comes in. The code editor is simply used for writing out our codes. Okay, so we have popular code editors, which includes the Visual Studio Code. This is the most popular code editor in the world. I mean, in the whole world amongst programmers. So let me show you what a Visual Studio Code looks like. You see this logo here? This is a Visual Studio Code. Okay, that's what I'm using. Let me not show you my code. So that is what a Visual Studio Code look like. Then we also have Sublime Texts and we have Atom. Okay, those are the different code editors we have. But the reason why Visual Studio Code is more popular and why we tend to use it, I personally prefer to use it, is because it's actually powerful and it's versatile and it can connect to a lot of plugins. You can connect it to many plugins that would make your work efficient. All right. Then we have version control system, like I said earlier, which helps developer to keep track of changes in their code. If you are making a change to your code, you can use Git to keep track of that. And the most common version control system, actually the most common and most popular, is Git, which allows developer to manage changes and collaborate with each other seamlessly. So we also have the browser developers tools. All major all major web browsers come with built-in built-in developers tools. Okay, like Chrome now. Chrome actually has its own developer tools. Okay, so these tools, what do? They help you inspect and debug HTML and CSS. You can use it to inspect and debug HTML and CSS. You can also use it to monitor network requests or analyze performance issues. Then, as a web developer, getting started with your first web project. All right. How do you get started with a web project? Once you've learned the language you need to learn and you need to start building something, how do you get started? So now that you've understand the basic concepts, now let's align the steps to start your first web project. The step one, plan your website. So before coding, I always tell people that web development is not just about coding. It's not just about writing codes. Okay, it's beyond writing codes. Actually, it's way beyond writing codes. Okay, it you also need to plan what you want your website to achieve. Okay, so the first step before you start writing code, is plan what you want your website to achieve. Let's say you want to work on a personal project to build your portfolio and you want to work on an e-commerce website to do that. First, you need to plan what your website wants to achieve. What type of e-commerce website are you building? Are you building an e-commerce website for the fashion industry, or are you building an e-commerce website for the food industry or agricultural industry or the clothing industry? Yeah, I already mentioned fashion. So first, you need to define your purpose. What do you want your website to do? Do you want it to inform? Do you want it to sell or entertain? Then you need to define who your audience are, who will use your website, tailor your content and design to their needs. Okay. Then two, set up your environment for development. That is choosing a code editor, install it, familiarize yourself with its features and shortcuts. And like I said, the most preferable code editor to use is the Visual Studio Code. Okay, that is exactly what I use, the Visual Studio Code. That is the most preferable code editor. Then you need to now learn the basics of HTML and CSS. So you are going to start with simple HTML and CSS, create a basic web page structure adding, you had elements like headings, your paragraph, your image, your links. If you want to add videos to it. If you want to add audios, maybe audios for a blog where people can get to download music. You can add audios to it. Then you can use CSS to style your web page and make it beautiful. Then add interactivity. Then the next step is adding interactivity with JavaScript. Okay. So once you're comfortable with what you've done, what you've achieved with your HTML and CSS, then begin learning JavaScript and add sim. Then with that, you cannot be able to, like, after learning your JavaScript, you cannot be able to add simple scripts to make your website interactive. You cannot write JavaScript code to make your website very interactive. That is, for example, let's say you can now create a button that changes color when clicked. Maybe when you click on a button, normally before clicking on the button is color green, and once you click on the button, it changes to color blue or color orange. These are the work of what? The JavaScript. So the next step is testing your website. Regularly test your website in different browser. When you are building websites, always use different browser to test your website. Okay, use different browser and different devices. Like I always tell people, the first approach to web development is mobile first. When you are developing a website or a web application, you need to consider those that are using the mobile phones first before you consider the general public. Okay, that is general consumers or users. So in achieving this, you need to test your websites on every devices, and you can, if you don't have all the devices to do that, you can actually use your browser console to check for different devices to test your website. And for responsiveness, mobile responsiveness, we have CSS frameworks for that. We have Bootstrap, and in Bootstrap we have different versions of Bootstrap. We have Bootstrap 3, we have Bootstrap 4, we have Bootstrap 5, but the current version we are using is Bootstrap 5. Then we have Tailwind CSS. Okay, so now you now use browser developer tool to spot and fix error. Like I said, in your browser we have a place called the developers tools. That is, you can use that developers tools on your browser, probably Chrome browser or Fox browser or Safari browser on your system or your laptop, to check for your code or errors and fix your errors. So then you can publish your websites. When your website is ready, you can publish it online. Look into web hosting service, which you host your site on the internet. You may need a domain name. There's all called domain name. What is domain name? Something like www dot maybe your website name then.com. But if it's just a personal project and you don't have that enough money to be buying domain and hosting, we have free platforms like Vessels. We have Netlify. Don't worry. The more we go deeper in our classes, the more I share these things with us. Um, so basically, we are coming to an end of today's session. So in the next class, we are going to be getting started with HTML. All right. So in summary, everything I've been saying basically is that web development is a broad and a dynamic field. And as you dive deeper, you encounter more advanced topics such as responsive design, frameworks, server management. Okay. So the main purpose of this introduction was just to lay the foundation for your journey in creating engaging and functional websites. All right, thank you very much, guys. So if you have any questions, please drop your questions. I'm going to be checking for the questions and I'll be giving answers to them. Thank you very much. Please, if you have questions, drop your questions. Please ask your questions. Ask your questions. I will definitely provide answers to your questions. Okay, let me explain data. All right, so you know, for example, I'm sure you are familiar with Facebook, for example. Now, on Facebook, if you want to create an account, you will need to put in your name, you will need to put in your email, your phone number. You need to also create a password. So your name, your phone number, your email, your password, these things are called data. All right, all these things I've mentioned, they are what? They are called data. Let me use Jumia also as an example. I believe that we've purchased products on Jumia before. When you want to create a Jumia account too, you will need to use your email, and also you need to create a password. All right. So, on Jumia, um, you can also directly log in or sign up with your Gmail without having to put in your information like name and everything. But once you are able to like successfully log in through Gmail, you would notice that your name would automatically display on your profile. Why is that possible? Because Google have your data with them. That is your name, your first name, your last name. Meaning when you were creating your Gmail account, all this data, you input those data with them. So what Jumia did was Jumia collected those data from Google to authenticate your account by creating accounts with Jumia. So this your name, your email, your password, um, your address, your postal code, all these things are called data. All right, they are called data. I don't even understand me now. Did I answer your question? All right, quick one. I just want to give us something to do before tomorrow. So I want us to download, I will type it out in the comments. I want us all to download the Visual Studio Code on her PCs before tomorrow, so that by tomorrow's class you can all be able to like follow everything that you're going to be taught. So I want us to download it before tomorrow. Okay. All right, awesome. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I will share a link with the management for you to be able to directly download this software access to download on our PC. So we must download it before tomorrow. Actually, that's just what I need you to do. You must download and install it before tomorrow. So download the VS Code as a Visual Studio Code on your PC before tomorrow. I think that's all. Are there no any other questions? All right. In the absence of none, I guess this is where I'll call it a day. So see you guys
I think
tomorrow.
thank you very much, Alfred. Yes, we'll see you tomorrow to have another amazing class. Every other person we meet at channel. After I'm going to send you the link to the channel so that if you have any question there, you can answer them even before we have all of these classes. So
All
it is
right, no
easier
problem.
for communication. All right, everyone. See you tomorrow by 4 p.m. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.